As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome, everyone, to now Monday morning, I guess, Detroit Lions rumors, news with Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you all for tuning in. We were live yesterday for the Minnesota Vikings Green Bay Packers game. Probably, it got close late, but it was disappointing. All Lions fans, even though rooting for the Packers is a sin, at that moment, it was allowed, and they couldn't get the job done. Now the Lions, at this point, it would be nice if the Vikings lost, but it doesn't really change what the Lions have to do. You still got to win that season finale at Ford Field. That's what it's going to come down to. So from the Lions' perspective, I've seen posts and Pride of Detroit put something out, and people got triggered about it, and it was, should the Lions rest starters against the San Francisco 49ers? Okay, and they put that out on their Twitter. And it was really a harmless conversation. People obviously got offended by it. But if you really think about it, this San Francisco game tonight doesn't mean as much as people really think it means. And I'll explain why. Okay, the Lions have 2 losses. If they drop this game, they will have 3 losses. They still have to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Because if they beat the Minnesota Vikings the following week, let's say hypothetically they lose tonight, and they beat the Vikings next week, the Vikings and Lions will both have 3 wins, and the Lions will have the tiebreaker in their favor. So the game tonight isn't significant, but at the same time, there's, for narrative purposes from last year, obviously the players are motivated to beat the 49ers. And Dan, I don't think Dan, and you guys would agree, comes off as a coach that would be okay with just resting players. And we're not talking about a season finale. You locked up the number 1 seed. We're talking about a game tonight that essentially is meaningless, but it's still a game that I assume Dan Campbell's going to be like, all right, guys, let's roll. And maybe guys that are on the fence about playing won't play, but for the most part, Dan's not going to be here resting players. I don't see that. I don't see that with Dan Campbell, and I don't think any of you guys would either, or do either. Nate, shout out to you, man, thanks for tuning in. He says the game tonight is meaningless. Yeah, that is, can't disagree with that one. Mike Reed, Jeff, Booner, Lukas, Gentry, Caleb. What's up, fellas? Mike Reed, what's going on, my man? What is going on? Michigan owns Ohio State. Says Crunch Time has more grit than Tim Twentyman, who did not drop an episode previewing tonight's game. Well, that's a big fumble by Tim Twentyman, who does great work, but wonder why he didn't drop. Maybe he's dropping one later, but you'd think he would drop one. It's Monday Night Football, guys. It's Monday Night Football. And honestly, forgot to mention, that's on me. Got the notification before we went live. Lions Vikings will be Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football. That's exciting, which it should be. It's going to be one of the best games of the year. So it's Sunday Night Football. It's official. And also, Schiff got here, says this game is meaningless to y'all. And to his point, the scenario I explained earlier about how the Vikings will have 3 losses if you beat them next week, even if you lose tonight. So you still have to beat the Vikings. That's for the division. I think that applies to the number 1 seed. I have to double check how that stuff works, but I think the Lions would still control their own destiny. I'm almost positive. Kiara, appreciate you for tuning in. The comment says the NFL wanted it to come down to this last game. Lions will win it all this year. Yeah, it's just the year that I thought the Vikings would be mid, the team that I assumed would win 8 games with a kind of a journeyman quarterback in Sam Darnold is significantly better than I even expected. And guys, I think it's time to have a conversation, and this is okay. I do this with a ton of things. I'm sure you guys do as well, where you have certain opinions, and of course, with new information, you're allowed to change them. And for me, you guys have been watching the show. I've been a big Vikings frauds. The Vikings aren't legit. Sam Darnold, this will end eventually. I got to say, the Vikings are legit. Okay. They are legit. Sam Darnold is legit. He's played exceptionally well this year. You can't really say anything. I mean, you watched last night, Jordan Love and Sam Darnold on the same stage, and Sam Darnold played significantly better than Jordan Love, who I assumed it was just better. And I still think long-term he will be better, obviously. But last night, he outplayed Jordan Love. So Sam Darnold deserves some credit here. He's been playing very well. And the Vikings, they are legit. I'm sorry. They are. But are they better than the Detroit Lions? I don't think so. Because think about it, guys. The game we watched yesterday, that game for the Packers offensively, Jordan Love looked pedestrian in the first half. He looked like a civilian, to use Nick Wright's words. If that was this Lions offense, you cannot convince me that Jared Goff through 2 quarters would be 6 for 12 for like 50 yards and no touchdowns. No. And I thought about this last night or 2 nights ago, and I talked to Caleb and Booner about this, and I'm not sure I think I mentioned it on the watch party yesterday. And I don't know if you guys have this thought process randomly, it just pops into your head when you watch these disgusting games. Not that yesterday was disgusting, but just don't worry, I'll bring this one home. Stay with me for a second. When I watch these, these Thursday night games like we watched last week, where the Bears and Seahawks score like 9 points combined, I'm sitting there going, there is no way in hell the Lions would ever end a game without a touchdown. Like, this offense is on a different level. That's why watching last night's game, I know the Packers did catch up eventually and they got up to 20 plus points. But there's no way, even the game, you're thinking of games the Lions offense just forgot how to play. And I would bring up Houston. In Houston, they struggled offensively. They still came back in the second half. So and they still won the game, and the defense played well in the second half. So this Lions offense is special. That's why when you look at some matchups, and I know Vikings fans are probably watching, yesterday going, yeah, we're the best team in the division. And they have every right to feel that way. But that defense, the Vikings defense, they're pretty good at stopping the run. Yesterday, Josh Jacobs looked pretty good. Now, that'll be Jahmyr Gibbs. The other point is they're going to play a significantly better offensive line than the Packers. They're playing the Lions' offensive line. They're also playing a quarterback who's having a significantly better year than Jordan Love. We saw this in the first game against the Vikings. Jahmyr Gibbs broke ankles. The offense scored 30 plus. Now the defense gave up some points, which, guys, I will get to that because I do think, this Lions defense, you got to get back to, and they had a turnover in that game. We got to get back to that, interceptions, stealing possessions, stopping the run, which Aaron Jones, you're going to have to be able to do that as well. Even though I think he got hurt late in the game last night, but whatever. This Lions offense is going to single-handedly keep them in every single game. So if I'm a Vikings fan right now, I'm looking at that last night's game going, oh yeah, okay. So for next week, it's going to be a way better offense with way better weapons, with a way better offensive line. We have to A, create turnovers, or B, just score more than they do, which is hard to do. Only the Bills did that this year. So I like the Lions' chances still against the Vikings. They're a better team. They're I think they're better constructed. And coaching, obviously, Kevin O'Connell, very good coach. Brian Flores, very good coach. So the coaching staffs, the Lions coaching staff is one of the best in the league. So I'm giving the advantage there. But they have a pretty good coaching staff as well. And it's in Ford Field. So Lions I'm curious what that line looks like. It's probably, I would say -3, 3.5 in favor of the Lions because they're at home. Maybe I'll go 1.5. It'd probably be 1.5, 2.5. We'll see. But yeah, Thomas, to your point, like Ford Field, 60,000 people. The Lions beat the Vikings in Minnesota, which that place is, it's not the home field advantage of Ford Field, but it's still a very good home field advantage. And the Lions had their way, offensively. Now, defensively, it seems like they couldn't really get pressure on Sam Darnold, and that was after Aiden went down. So I'm curious now with Za'Darius how that looks. Guys, remember that was pre-Za'Darius. That was a different time. Now that was with Aleem as well. So, and that was with Carlton Davis. So it is what it is. Dante says, Jeff, it's an even 3 for the Lions. Okay, well, that's perfect. That is perfect. Coach Walk, I'm concerned about the defense. Sam Darnold picked them apart because they couldn't get any pressure. And Coach is absolutely right. I mean, we watched that game, guys. They couldn't get pressure on Sam Darnold. And that's kind of been the thing this year is last night, the Packers got pressure on him in the second half, made his life difficult. But to Coach's point, in the first half, they weren't getting much pressure on him. I mean, the guy had a hell of a game. I mean, 350 yards, multiple touchdowns. I mean, you just got to hope with his arm, he's going to make some throws where you're going to have opportunities to get some interceptions. You're going to have to force some turnovers. That's tough to do when you have Justin Jefferson. I mean, you guys see the catch he made last night? Or yesterday? He's special too. So, and Jordan Addison's coming along. TJ Hawkinson, of course, has always been a solid tight end. So they have weapons that are going to cause problems. But it really comes down to red zone defense, creating turnovers, stopping the run. You're not going to slow down these guys. You're just not. You're not. Denzel says Za'Darius will be pumped for the Vikings game. He will. He will. Shift God says Jefferson always stat pads versus us, though. I mean, yeah. I mean, I especially last year when they had Nick Mullins. I get that, but we'll see. We'll see, Shift. Don't lie to me, Shift. I know if you think of Justin Jefferson, you're like, okay, that's a problem. But to your point and to your next comment, there is games where he goes off and they lose. I get that. But it doesn't have to be Justin Jefferson. They could beat you they could beat you with different receivers, different weapons. But I'm really curious about this comment too. Michigan owns Ohio State. Love this. Wonder if Aaron Jones will play. It's very confusing. But it was a hamstring injury. It looked like he was wrapped up. Didn't play in the fourth quarter. Not sure if that was precautionary or if that was something more serious. I don't know. But that's a great thing to wonder because Aaron Jones is a line mover. He is that type of player. I mean, Cam Akers last night, that was inflated. Okay, Cam Akers is not, all due respect to him. We've seen a big enough sample size of Cam Akers. Lions would be fine. Okay. Ty Chandler, Lions would be fine. Aaron Jones, he's very good. And he always plays well against the Lions. Dating back to when he was in Green Bay. So it's ridiculous. But I will say, guys, for tonight, and I want to get into that matchup now that we spent some time here. I know people want to talk Lions-Vikings, and we could stay on it if you guys would like to. I'd like to talk more about the game tonight at some point in the show. I'm going to go for about 45 minutes to an hour today, so we have plenty of time to talk about it. I want to go through some comments. Before I get to it, Just Scratch Golf Show. Appreciate you, Marco, for tuning in. He says, what are your thoughts on the opening line, Jeff? You're talking about the Vikings game, the -3 that Dante just told me about, or are we talking about tonight? But I'll assume it's the Vikings. I think that it should be about that, to be honest. I think the Vikings are a respectable team. They're playing really well right now. So I'm done trying to sit here and diminish what the Vikings have done. So I'm going to go ahead and say I respect the Vikings. I think the Lions are still the better team. I would take their coaching staff. I would give them the advantage. I would give them the quarterback advantage, the offensive line advantage. Defensively, I would give the Vikings the advantage, but I don't think the Vikings have this supreme talent to where it's like, oh yeah, the Vikings defense is just stacked. It's not that. They're coached well. Obviously, their system is working with Brian Flores. So I think it's a interesting matchup. I would still give the nod to the Lions because they have the quarterback advantage. I mean, they have the head coach advantage at this point, and the coaching, the quarterback play, I would give the edge to the Lions, and they're at home. I'm taking the Lions to cover that. I think it'll, and I'll wait to give my score prediction, but I think it will be a similar game that we saw early in the year in Minnesota. I think it could be a very, back and forth offensive game. I wouldn't be shocked if we see another 60 points this week. I'm serious. 60 points. Kind of like we saw in Minnesota, that type of game. I fully expect that to happen. I do. Thomas says the game tonight is pretty much meaningless except for the tie factor, which is less than 2%. Yeah. I mean, it is. But, guys, try and convince Dan Campbell that a game's meaningless. He's Guy's not wired that way. Nor I don't think this team is, to be quite honest. So I don't think they're all looking at it like that. But you are right, Thomas, from the fans and from media and looking at, all the situations that could happen for this to happen. This team needs to lose. This team needs to win. It doesn't mean anything tonight. I mean, it doesn't. They can still accomplish what they want to accomplish if they just win out. They beat the Vikings. If they lose tonight, which they won't. That's why the Lions, their goal is very simple. Win out. Beat the 49ers. Get revenge. Check. Beat the Vikings at home next year. Check. Sweep the division. Which is crazy. Undefeated, guys. If they win next week, and the Lions will be undefeated in the NFC North. Arguably one of the greatest divisions over the last handful of years. I mean, 3 double-digit win teams and 2 teams that are battling for the 1 seed. I mean, let's not gloss over that. Undefeated in this great division. Jesse says, Jeff, you need some coffee, bro. Your eyes are looking like Lukas after a long Saturday of sitting on his couch smoking his medicine. Just saying, you know what, guys? And I'll be honest with you. Not a huge coffee guy. Just not. Whole family is. Everyone I know is. Not a huge coffee guy. But I got up early this morning, went to the gym, and I just sat there. I'm like, man, I cannot wait to do the show today. I cannot wait. I can't. But Jesse, Lukas, no comment. But I got to be a coffee guy. I mean, I heard a lot of shits in Celsius. I don't know if that's true or not. I like Celsius. Apparently there's like sewage in there. I don't. Still buying it. Michael, good morning, Jeff. Looking forward to the beatdown the 49ers have coming their way tonight. Michael, you know what? I would love to know where you guys are at with this, by the way. What's your feeling on tonight? The Lions -3, I think at this point. Could have moved, but last time I checked, it was -3. Do we expect blowout tonight? Is that what we're leaning? You think it'll be a closer game, a blowout? Where are you guys at tonight? Drop your score predictions. I want to hear them, or I want to see them, rather. I'll go through them. For me, and I've spoke about this, I think the 49ers are, looking at this season and going, hey, we missed the playoffs. Season's pretty much over. But I do think part of it is the 49ers are looking at this game going, you know what? The Lions want to come into our home field, whoop our ass. So I think they'll get up for tonight's game. I think they will get up for tonight's game. I think they'll be locked in, especially defensively, because they're more healthy on the defensive side of the ball. They are. Offensively, they have injuries. But defensively, I think Dre Greenlaw, he's out for the year. But they're missing. Some guys are questionable. But for the most part, Hargrave's obviously out for the year. But they got some of their key players. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Tufunga is there. They're both their corners. So I think the 49ers are – this game tonight, I think the Lions win by 10. I think my score prediction, I gave out 31-21. I think that was, 31-21 was my score prediction. So I think they win by 10, but I think it's closer throughout the game than people think. But who cares about how it looks? I'm over that, guys. I'm over that. Just win. Who gives a shit? Just win the game. I see this. U of M Dad, Lions 24 or 27-24. Denzel says 52-3. Lions dominate. MCDC's big old ball bag. Love the name. Lions 32, 9 or 17. Braylon 42-20 Lions. Michael says, nailed it, Jeff. That's what I'm thinking too. Lions by 10. See, you're okay. So we're on the same page. 10 would be a good win, by the way, in this NFL. Okay, who cares about blowing teams out? Just win. So at this point, just win. That's all you want to do at this point in the season. Braylon says Trent Williams and Ward are out tonight. So Tre'Davious Ward is out. So that's big. Did not know that, Braylon, so appreciate for that. He's a very good corner. But Trent Williams, I did know that. He's out, which will give the Lions an opportunity here tonight. You're going to see some guys like Levi Onwuzurike, maybe a Josh Paschal. Levi, really just keep up what he's been doing. But Josh, I want to see have a big day today or a big night tonight. I do. I'm excited. I want to see this defensive line make some plays tonight. And I'm with Kevin. No injuries, please. And Thomas. Let's get out healthy. Ray Coker says, Booner doing his bets tonight. I need to make some dough. He will be. Booner's bets will be tonight as well. So pregame show, 7 o'clock p.m. We'll be live doing the pregame show. And, of course, Booner's bets is always involved. We had a rough day yesterday, but we're bouncing back tonight. So confirmed. Kiazi, 47-20. What up, Jeff? Happy game day Monday. Kiazi, appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in as always, my man. 47-20 is a good score. D-Par, 28-41-9. Lions, Minnesota women. Okay. Ray Coker, Lions vs. Cowboys, part 2 tonight. I hope so, Ray. Stephen Clark, I don't want to see any more injuries. Crazy Clown, I would assume San Fran is a decent defense, so 27-17 seems reasonable. I don't hate that score either, to be honest. That's the 10-point victory that I was mentioning there. So we're all kind of, and some people think it'll be a blowout. And, guys, if the Lions blow out the 49ers tonight, it will be great. They could easily, I would not be shocked if they do. I do think it'll be a 10-point victory. Lions, you just want to win, move on, look at next week, and look at this Vikings team and focus on that. Because I will say, I'm looking, I want to make sure I'm very clear here. The Vikings postseason, I don't know how far they can go. I don't know if they can win it all. I would like to see the Vikings ideally match up with like some of the best teams in the league. Not the Lions, but in the AFC side. I don't know if I should sit here and call them a Super Bowl contender. But I think the Vikings I think if you're looking at tiers, the Lions, the Bills are kind of on this top tier. And I'd throw the Chiefs up there too. And then I'd put the Vikings kind of in that second tier. But there's still good teams in that second tier. Packers, if you want to bring up some other teams in there as well. Eagles, I'd probably put in the first tier. I would put them up there too. But they would be in that second tier. But yeah, I'm with Thomas. Like if the Vikings and the Eagles matched up in the playoffs, I would take the Eagles. So I don't think they're quite on the first tier. And by me saying the Lions are on the first tier, I would take the Lions in any matchup, playing the Vikings anywhere. Okay. But I want to make sure I'm putting respect on the Vikings, but I'm making sure it's very clear I'm taking the Lions. I mean, I'm taking the Lions in that matchup. I just am, especially that offense, man. And they're healthy. Obviously, D-Mont will come back eventually, but yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs. Thomas says Bosa and Warner and Niners have a good secondary. Talking about tonight. Yeah, I mean, defense is relatively healthy. Dan Campbell talked about that. Ray Coker, Vaki TD tonight, boys. Book it. I would love to see Vaki more involved. And that's another thing I am thinking about this in terms of storylines. One thing I've been thinking about is which running back besides Gibbs we see more of tonight. And we talked about this. I think you'll see Craig Reynolds, of course, more so than Jamar. But I think in the passing game, you're still going to see Vaki. I think Vaki and Craig are going to kind of both collectively help out. I think Vaki brings a lot in both areas. I think he's a very underrated runner. But if you see Vaki catch the ball out of the backfield, Vaki's a playmaker with the ball in his hands. So I hope we get to see some Vaki in the passing game when Jahmyr is resting. And I think we see more Craig kind of bully ball. I don't want to see Craig catching passes out of the backfield. I'm sorry. All love to Craig, but I'd rather see Vaki do it. So I think it'll be a three-headed monster with two guys kind of sharing a role and Jahmyr just doing what he does. That's my, foreshadow on the backfield and how it looks. I think Jamar gets beat out. Michael Lucci's 49ers play heavy zone. This should be a nice game for Tim Patrick tonight. It's a great point. Seems like Tim Patrick shows up when, prime time, these games. Wouldn't be shocked if Tim Patrick goes out there and just has a day, honestly. Teams just forget about him, and he makes plays consistently. It really is amazing to see. Dante151. I know we're not talking about mock drafts. Tankathon has the Lions drafting Isaiah Bond from Texas in the first round, and Donovan Izuruaku from Boston College in the second round. So Isaiah Bond in the first round, I hate. I think that's one of the dumbest selections I've ever seen, if I'm being honest. So Tankathon, don't ever look at Tankathon. I look at Tankathon for the picks. Not the picks, but where the teams are picking. That's a terrible pick. And I like Isaiah Bond, but for the Lions, no. No. Why would you take a receiver in the first round? I don't know what we're doing here. But Dante, I know we would agree, Dante. Offensive lineman or defensive lineman? Very simple. That's what the Lions should do in the first round. Yeah, Stephen Clark. Yeah, Bond with Jack Sawyer on the board. No way. Yeah, I'm with you guys on Jack Sawyer. I think he'd be a great option there. Defensive end, very solid. Let's see. Thomas says, please rest Gibbs tonight. He makes the offense what it is. You can't cheat him on defense with him back there. That's what's tough is resting players. Obviously, Dan Campbell feels the type of way about it. But if there is a player you could argue to rest, it would probably be the last running back you have. But do you really want to do that? It's tough. It really is. I just don't see Dan ever just doing that, honestly. And I know it sucks. Unless you're a vet, like I can see in situations where, let's say Frank Ragnow was he's banged up, and I'm sure he is, but if he was on the injury report, or a player like Graham Glasgow, for example, if he was still dealing with a lingering injury, I think Dan would be like, you know what, Christian Mahogany, you play another week. Graham, you could sit out and rest. But for guys that are playing, I don't think he'll rest him. I don't. It makes sense. I mean, he's getting 30 touches a game, give him a rest, but you know how Dan Campbell is, guys. Just not wired that way, man. Let's see. Coach Walk 37. One thing we have learned about the Lions draft, and we don't know anything, let Brad cook. Yeah. At the end of the day, he's going to go best player available, and that could be a position we're not even speaking of. Which, that's Brad's philosophy. It's why he gets great players. Because I'm just going to take the good players. Screw the position. Crazy Clyde. I don't want to lose this game tonight, even though it's not the end of the world if they do, but I hate losing. We all hate losing. We're with you, Crazy Clown. I would say the game tonight, though, guys, for the whole narrative, if it doesn't mean anything, you're absolutely right. But in all fairness, and let's be realistic for a second, they are going to go into San Francisco tonight, and they want to open up a can of whoop ass. They want to whoop ass tonight. That is what they have on their mind. They are not thinking about resting. A team that prides itself on grit and, especially a team that is petty, and they're thinking of last year. They are thinking of last year. There's no way. Even guys that do rest, they don't want to rest. They want to play against this team. They want to shit on the 49ers. They're looking forward to that. Jesse Adams, here's a little parlay I made tonight for you, / the chat, Jeff. -3.5 Lions, JMO TD, Laporta TD, Gibbs TD, over 1.5 field goals for San Francisco, Patrick over 24.5 receiving yards, and Purdy to throw an interception. Oh my gosh. I respect parlays that just have random shit in it. I do. Not that you didn't think about this stuff. You definitely did, Jesse. You definitely thought about this stuff and thought, okay, this looks good. This looks good. But it's like you go from the spread, touchdown scores, field goals, Tim Patrick, and then an interception. Like, if that smacks, I respect the hell out of it. I might even take it out of respect, honestly. I'm going to save that comment. I might even take it out of respect. Fat Rail Music. JMO gets 1,000 yards tonight. You know what? And I'm glad you brought that up. Because I'll say this, guys. Give me a player that you expect to have a big day today. Give me a player. And we'll start offensively. Because for me, offensively, I go right to JMO. Because I think JMO tonight, kind of reminiscent of last year against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, he had the late touchdown, but he also had the huge end-around TD to start the game. But Jamison Williams tonight is a man on a mission. He had 110 yards, or he's 110 yards away from 1,000. He mentioned it in a scrum with the media. They asked him, he's like, yeah, I understand that. And he even talked about how much 1,000 yards means to receivers. It means something. It's a landmark. It's like 1,000 yards rushing. It's like 4,000 yards for a quarterback. It's like, 100 tackles for a linebacker, whatever comparison you want to use. It's huge. And J-Mo is on the cusp of doing it. And you're telling me I don't even care what DB is guarding him. I know Chardavius Ward's out, which is huge, so they'll probably put their next best corner on J-Mo. But that is barbecue chicken. J-Mo is going to do some work tonight. He's clocking in. He's clocking in tonight. He's getting his 8 hours, his 9 hours in. Okay, that's what he's doing tonight. He's going out there. I honestly, I would not be shocked if he has 100 yards. I would not be shocked. I think you see another J-Mo bomb, and I think you're going to see some explosive plays tonight. He's going to have damn near 100 yards receiving. So I think J-Mo leads the team in receiving, and he has a big day today because he's been incredible. He really has. Now, like Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta, I think they'll get theirs, but I think J-Mo has the biggest night, I will say. Now, if you want me to go besides J-Mo, because I see Jesse, I know a lot of people agree with that, but Jesse says J-Mo's the easiest one to say. I'd say Laporta to Patrick for the underrated guys. Yeah. I mean, Tim Patrick's a great one. I know Michael mentioned that earlier, and you guys are on the Tim Patrick. Well, we're going to revisit this tonight. I will give you guys credit. If Tim Patrick's balling on the watch party, I'm giving you guys the ultimate credit, the shout out, because if Tim Patrick balls, wouldn't be surprised, but that would be great. Andrew says, isn't Green a rookie? Yeah, Renardo Green, rookie out of Florida State for the 49ers. He's going to have his hands full. So, won't the Lions have 4 players with 1,000 yards? Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Gibbs, Monty, and J-Mo. Well, Monty doesn't have 1,000 yards, which is unfortunate because he was on track to get it. I think he has. I'm gonna see what he exactly has. 775. So, but Amon-Ra, yes, Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and J-Mo, yes, coach, we'll all have 1,000. If J-Mo gets 110, yeah, they'll have 3,000 yard guys, two on a receiver, one on running back. But another one with 775 yards. But yes, Stephen Clark, Monty has 1,000 yards all purpose. There you go. So you can go that. Yep. If you want to go all purpose, guys, he does. He has 1,000 yards. They all have 1,000 yards. But I was going rushing. I didn't go all purpose for that. But yeah, I think he has like 300 something receiving yards. Jay Hart, hey Jeff, I swear earlier in the season, Tim Patrick, Kirby, and BB paid my bills for 3 months. Yeah. Kirby and Brian Branch definitely for those interceptions. They've been and they got to get back to that tonight. I'm expecting that fully. I'm expecting Kirby or Brian. Just give me an interception tonight, man. Give me something. If one of them get a pick, who gets it, guys? Who gets it? Kirby or Brian Branch? And give me a defensive player you think has a big day. Because I said J-Mo on offense, but defense, I think I'm going to go Brian Branch. I think Brian Branch tonight. That's who I'm going with. I know Kirby's a good one too. I see some Kirbys. Coach Walk, U of M dad, Kirby. Yeah, I that's a good one too. I don't hate it. I'm going to go Brian Branch tonight. I think he has a huge day. Playing more nickel. He's going to have some plays open up. That dude's he's going to ball. But that's an obvious one. I mean, Kirby, that's a good one too. Calling a Kirby pick. Phil says, how you feeling, Jeff? Feeling good, Phil. Feeling good. We got a big day ahead of us. And I cannot wait for this weekend, guys. It's going to be great. Sunday Night Football. We'll have a big show planned, big watch party. So stick around for that. Crazy Clown, Kirby and Branch are the best in the NFL. There, I said it. No, you don't have to announce it. You're right. You're all right, Crazy Clown. Best safety duo in the league. Stephen Clark says Jack Campbell going to have a game. I almost went with Jack Campbell. I love him tonight, man. Jack Campbell's been nothing but consistent this whole stretch without Anzalone. Why not today? Why not today? Zachary Kane goes if he's going to get his first of the season. And I see some iffies. So we got Iffy, Kirby, Jack Campbell. I mean, these are all great picks. No one's mentioning anyone on that defensive line, though. I'm just saying. Well, where's our Al Muhammad's? Okay, I see some Terran Arnold's in there. Huh? Where's our Zadarius Smiths? Guys, if I'm being honest, full transparency, that's what I just want to see more of as the season ends. I just want to see this defensive line. I do. Like I know, and it makes 100% sense that no one mentioned a defensive lineman. Like, I mean, no one mentioned anyone in the defensive line. Like, that's where we're at. Like Juice talks football, Pat O'Connor. Yeah, if you're gonna mention one, he would be the guy. Braylon says Za'Darius gets 5 sacks. Oh, now we're talking defensive lineman. Yeah. Now it's good. ARF is Reader playing? I think so. I don't think anything has a setback. I think he is playing. I'll double check that for you. But I think he's a full go. Yeah, I think he's a full go. He'll be playing. Let's see. J Hart, it's a Pascal game. I love that. Brent DeWitt, Z-Boom is getting 2 sacks for his $250,000 bonus. You guys see that? Za'Darius, thanks for that, Brad, by the way. Za'Darius only needs like 2 sacks for a big bonus. Like, this dude is going to be dialed. Get a sack today. Get a sack on Sunday. There you go. You get $250,000. He'll be dialed. He will be dialed. Michael says Z doesn't have to face Trent Williams. This should be a great spot for him to get a sack or 2. Also, he needs 2 sacks for $250K and 4 for $500. There you go. So there's the incentives. There you go. Juice talks football on God, though. Taron, can you get a pick today for the love of God? Well, Juice, I love that. I've been trying to call it for about 8 weeks straight. Didn't work. So I'm leaving it up to you, Juice, to call it. You can call it. I've called it 8 weeks straight. I've tried to run it back. It's been tough. And he almost had one against the Colts. Is that the right game? Or was it the Bears? But he almost had a pick in one of those games, and he dropped it. Tough, man. Zachary says Reader will have 2 tackle for losses in the run game. I love that. Ray Coker, good question for you, Jeff. If we had taken Okudah in the 20s of the draft like TA, would we have given him more slack like TA? I don't think TA's been trashed, but I'm curious. You know what, Ray? That's an excellent question. I will say this. Getting drafted in the 20s compared to being a top 5 pick, let alone a top 3 pick, definitely gives you – there's more leeway there for fans to criticize you. So that's not even a debate. A guy taken in the top 3 versus top 20, the top 20 guy will get more leeway. So you're that point by you is absolutely right. And I think the big thing when you're comparing Taron Arnold and Jeff Okudah is when I watch Jeff Okudah, not only would he be getting consistently torched, but he looked like he was always in the wrong place. He was always lost. He was always out of position. At least Taron Arnold, you see more positives when you're comparing. Like when you're watching Taron, you're like, okay, he's in the right position. He's just got to turn his head around, or he's in the right spot. He's doing what he's supposed to do, but he did something, small that can be corrected. So I think fundamentally, Taron Arnold, I have more confidence in him actually working out. Like he actually can stay with receivers. Like Joe says, a lot more sticky. I think that's the right word to use. So, Ray, I think Taron Arnold, we can all agree, is struggling this year. There's been positive, certainly, but that's okay. Not every corner comes out and is just elite. That's not something that's common. Like even for Quinyon Mitchell, he's excellent, and he was my number 1 corner coming out, but that's not something like, even if Quinyon was struggling, I would say the same thing. It's like, yeah, these guys got to give him a year or 2. So I'm willing to give Taron Arnold some time. I'm not going to panic. He's a rookie. Like just because a guy comes out and balls in the same position. I know everyone raises standards, but it's the reality. Like Darius Slay, I know it wasn't a first-round pick, but look at that. It happens. You can't freak out about it. You can't overreact, and you can't jump to and use the word bust, Not that you are, Ray, but I've seen people freak out about it. So, and I'm talking really to fans. Like, let's all take a deep breath. Allow this thing to play out. Is he the best rookie corner? No. That's not what you're chasing. He doesn't want to be the best rookie corner. He wants to be the best corner out of his draft class. So give him some time. Stephen Clark, once TA starts getting his head around on the ball, he's going to be a top 15 cornerback in the league. Yeah, dude, he's in the right position consistently. It's just these small fundamental errors that just have to be corrected. That's all. It's just these things that are coachable. It's not like, oh, Terrion is just lost. He just doesn't know what he's doing. It's not that. It really isn't. I mean, watching him, you could tell. Well, you guys knew when you watch Jeff Iafrate, like, this guy stinks. This guy actually stinks. And it wasn't just for his first game. We're talking about over like a 2-year stretch. Like, this guy stinks. And he gets injured. It just happens. Let's see. Thomas says Terrion is going to get cooked against Jefferson. I mean, everyone gets cooked against Jefferson. I don't think that's like name me someone who shut Jefferson down. It just doesn't. I mean, you just got to hope that he has 50 yards, 60 yards. That's shutting him down. Like, the dude's going to get his. It's going to happen. These guys are the best of the best. I mean, watching Justin Jefferson last night, it's like Amon-Ra. Like, Amon-Ra, no one's stopping him. Like, he's going to get his every time. Let's see. Jesse Adams says TA was better coming out than Jeff, plus TA played way better wideouts than Jeff did in the Big Ten. It's a good point. I mean, yeah, the Big Ten compared to the SEC is a difference. So, Stephen Clark says CD got cooked against Jefferson. Yeah, and I would say we'd all agree CD's the best cover corner they have, and he got torched. So it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Ray, he says, I don't think he's a bust, just was curious. And I think the staff around here now leaves a lot more room to improve. When Okudah got taken, he got thrown in with Patricia with his pencil here in ATV. Yeah, well said, Ray. It's a different staff. And that's why, guys, fundamentally, this staff, in terms of developing players, has been excellent. Excellent. Even guys that you didn't think that would work out. They just find guys and turn them into productive players. It's great. That's why if a player does not succeed in Detroit, they were never meant to succeed at all. I really believe that. Or they just aren't. They aren't who the Lions are looking for. Maybe there's someone else. Like, you guys see CJ Gardner-Johnson. Like, the shit this guy's doing in Philly, that's just who he is. And he fits better in Philly. He's a fine player. But the Lions don't want that shit. And when he was with Detroit, it was an overrated experience. It really was. And I even was a guy that defended him. But yeah, raise the sales is right. Detroit really maximizes potential. So if you can't work out here, that's on you. It's just how it is. Stephen Clark says, the thing about Okudah was he was thrown to the Wolves early on, and just like quarterback, you have to have confidence to play cornerback in the NFL. Yeah. I mean, Steven's on, couldn't have said it any better. Cornerback is a confidence position. It really is based on confidence. That's why when you're a rookie and you're going through what Terrion Arnold's going through, it's important not to lose confidence because he is a very confident player. So I think it's very important that for him, it's okay. How can we turn this thing around? What does Terrion Arnold look like in year 2? Now, in year 2, if he's getting torched and he looks terrible, we can have a conversation. But right now, I'm not going to freak out about it. Justin Station, CJ pushed his teammate away after the pick yesterday. No one was talking about that. Yeah, I mean, not a Dan Campbell guy. He just isn't. But listen, guys, although tonight does not mean anything, I will say I think this game means a lot for this defense because if we've learned anything over the last couple of weeks, it's that this defense is going into full-blown bend, don't break mode. That is what they are. Okay? They're not a defense that is going to get you with Aiden Hutchinson anymore. He's out. They're not going to lock up and, be one of the best passing defenses. They are not going to lead the team in sacks. Actually, they've been underperforming the last handful of weeks. What this defense is bend, don't break. You're going to see it tonight. They're going to give up a shit ton of yards. Okay? Brock Purdy is probably going to have 250 passing yards, 270. George Kittle is probably going to have a bunch of yards. Debo, I don't give a damn. Ricky Pearsall. I mean, Jerry Rice could come out of retirement and still get about 50 yards right now against this defense. But you know what matters? Red zone. Red zone. What do they look like in the red zone? Can you force turnovers? That's what their game plan is going to be tonight. Okay, they're going to be a stout red zone defense. Now, without Christian McCaffrey, it's very easy to say that. If they faced a healthy 49ers team, I'd probably be more worried, but they're not. I think the defense tonight, they're going to give up a shit ton of yards. I think they create some turnovers. That's what's going to keep them, especially in a lot of these games moving forward. And whether I like it or not doesn't matter. I just have to accept it. Do I think that the bend don't break approach can work on Super Bowl teams? I don't think so. I think it's hard, really hard, especially when you face good offenses. It's hard to keep bending and not break. But guys, that's what they have. You got to roll with it. You know what you do need? You need this offense to just keep up what they're doing. Okay. And you need this offense to keep scoring 30, 40 points. And I think that's what they're going to do tonight. So the Lions are going to score a shit ton of points. The 49ers are going to score some points. That's why I have 31-21. I think it's a 10-point game. Lions pull away late. So that's where I'm at with tonight's game, guys. And this Minnesota Vikings game, I still love the Lions to beat them, but I think the Vikings are going to give them some more problems now because we're talking about bend, don't break. You're playing George Kittle. You're playing Debo. Next week, you got better weapons, okay? And Sam Darnold's playing significantly better than Brock Purdy. So next week, guys, that's it. That's the game. And we're going to be covering here. We're going to be covering here on Crunch Time Sports. I cannot wait, guys. It's going to be such a fun game to cover. It's going to be electric. We're going to be previewing it all week and then talking about it. And I know we're probably going to have a shit ton of Vikings fans coming in this chat and trash talking. It's going to be great. I can't wait for it. But we'll be live tonight, guys. So please be there. Pre-game show, 7 o'clock p.m. Watch party, 8 o'clock. Post-game show, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So that's when the programming is. Come on and hang out. Watch the game with us. And let's watch the Lions whoop some ass tonight, okay? Let's just enjoy the experience. They're not resting anybody. That's not what they're going to do. And Dan is just going to play guys because, I don't know, that's just what he believes in, okay? He's not a normal guy. He's not a normal coach. He's not going to rest guys that are banged up. They're going to play. And now for bets, we'll talk about that later. I will say the first bet I'm placing, I'll place it now, is I don't know what Jameson Williams' line is. It's probably roughly 54, 55 and a half. I'm taking that over, man. I'm taking the over on JMO. But I will catch you guys tonight. Please stay safe out there. Happy New Year, even though we got 2 more days. Have a great rest of your day. I will catch you guys tonight. Appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. I love you, and I will catch you later. Peace.